Mr. Cholkar's Sugarless Tea. Initially, Baba was known in Pune and Ahmednagar districts. But Nana Sahib Chandorkar, by his word of mouth, and Das Ganu, by his splendid kirtans, spread the fame of Baba in the Konkan. In fact, it was Das Ganu, may God bless him, who by his beautiful and inimitable kirtans made Baba available to so many people there. The audience who came to hear the kirtans have different tastes. Some like the erudition or learning of the Haridas, some his gestures, some his singing, some his wit and humor, some his preliminary dissertation on Vedanta, and some his main theme, and so on. But among them, there are very few who by hearing the kirtan get faith and devotion or love for God or saints. The effect of hearing Das Ganu's kirtan on the minds of audience was, however, electric, as it were. We give an instance here. Das Ganu was once doing his kirtan and singing the glory of Sai Baba in the Kopineshwar temple in Thana. One Mr. Cholkar, a poor man serving as a temporary employee in the civil courts in Thana, was amongst the audience. He heard Das Ganu's kirtan most attentively and was much moved. He there and then mentally bowed and vowed to Baba, saying, "Baba, I am a poor man, unable to support my family. If by your grace I pass the departmental examination and get a permanent post, I shall go to Shirdi, fall at your feet, and distribute sugar candy in your name." As luck would have it, Mr. Cholkar did pass the examination and did get the permanent post, and now it remained for him to fulfill his vow. The sooner, the better. Mr. Cholkar was a poor man with a large family to support, and he could not afford to pay for the expenses of a Shirdi trip. As is well said, one can easily cross over Nane Ghat in Thana district or even the Sahyadri range, but it is very difficult for a poor man to cross the threshold of his house. As Mr. Cholkar was anxious to fulfill his vow as early as possible, he resolved to cut down his expenses and save money. He determined not to use sugar in his diet and began to take his tea without it. After he was able to save some money in this way, he came to Shirdi, took Baba's darshan, fell at his feet, offered a coconut, distributed it with a clean conscience along with sugar candy as per his vow, and said to Baba that he was much pleased with his darshan and that his desires were fulfilled that day. Mr. Cholkar was in the masjid with his host, Bapu Sahib Jog. When the host and the guest both got up and were about to leave the masjid, Baba spoke to Jog as follows: "Give him cup of tea fully saturated with sugar." Hearing these significant words, Mr. Cholkar was much moved. He was wonderstruck. His eyes were bedewed with tears and he fell at Baba's feet again. Mr. Jog was also curious about this direction. Baba wanted by his words to create faith and devotion in Cholkar's mind. He hinted, as it were, that he got the sugar candy as per his vow and that he knew fully well his secret determination not to use sugar in his diet. Baba meant to say, "If you spread your palms with devotion before me, I am immediately with you, day and night. Though I am here physically, still I know what you do beyond the 7 seas. Go wherever you wish over the wide world. I am with you. My abode is in your heart, and I am within you. Always worship me, who is seated in your heart as well as in the hearts of all beings. Blessed and fortunate indeed is he who knows me thus. What a beautiful and important lesson Baba had thus imparted to Mr. Cholkar. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all. Chapter 20 Kaka's Maidservant. Das Ganu once started to write a Marathi commentary on the Isha Upanishad. Das Ganu translated it in Marathi OV meter, verse by verse. But as he did not comprehend the gist or essence of the Upanishad, he was not satisfied with his performance. On being dissatisfied, he consulted some learned men regarding his doubts and difficulties and discussed it with them at great length. They did not solve them, nor did they give him any rational and satisfactory explanation. So Das Ganu was a little restless over this matter. As we have seen, this Upanishad is the quintessence of the Vedas. It is the science of self-realization. It is the weapon which can rend asunder the bondage of life and death and make us free. Therefore, he thought that he who has himself attained self-realization can only give him the true or correct interpretation of the Upanishad. When nobody could satisfy Das Ganu, he resolved to consult Sai Baba about this. When he got an opportunity to go to Shirdi, he saw Sai Baba, prostrated himself before him, and mentioned his difficulties about the Isha Upanishad and requested him to give the solution. Sai Baba blessed him and said, "You need not be anxious. There is no difficulty about the matter. The maidservant of Kaka Sahib Dixit will solve your doubts at Ville Parle on your way to home." The people who were present there and heard this thought that Baba was joking and said, "How could an illiterate maidservant solve the difficulties of this mystic nature?" But Das Ganu thought otherwise. He was sure that whatever Baba spoke must come true, as Baba's word was the decree of the Brahma Almighty. Fully believing Baba's words, he left Shirdi and came to Ville Parle, a suburb of Mumbai, and stayed with Kaka Sahib Dixit. There, the next day, when Das Ganu was enjoying his morning nap, some say when he was engaged in worship, he heard a poor girl singing a beautiful song in clear and melodious tone. The theme of the song was a crimson-colored sari. How nice it was, how fine was its embroidery, how beautiful were its borders, etc. He liked the song so much that he came out and saw that it was being sung by a young girl, the sister of Namya, who was a servant of Kaka Sahib. The girl was cleaning vessels and had only a torn rag on her person. On seeing her impoverished condition and her happy temperament, Das Ganu felt pity for her. And when Rao Bahadur M.V. Pradhan gave him a pair of dhothars the next day, he requested him to give a sari to the poor little girl also. Rao Bahadur bought a good Shirdi, small sari, and presented it to her. Like a starved person getting delicious dishes to eat, her joy knew no bounds. Next day, she wore the new sari and out of great joy and merriment, whirled and danced around and played fugadi with all other girls. The day following, she kept the new sari in her box at home and came with the old and torn rags, but she looked as merry as she was the previous day. On seeing this, Das Ganu's pity transformed into admiration. He thought that the girl being poor had to wear a torn rag, but now she had a new sari, which she kept in reserve, and putting on the old rag, strutted herself, showing no trace of sorrow or dejection. Thus, he realized that all our feelings of pain and pleasure depend upon the attitude of our mind. On thinking deeply over this incident, he realized that a man ought to enjoy whatever God has bestowed on him in the firm conviction that he besets everything from behind and before and on all sides, and that whatever is bestowed on him by God must be for his good. In this particular case, the impoverished condition of the poor girl, her torn rag, and the new sari, the donor, the doni, and the deal were all parts of the Lord and pervaded by him. Here, Das Ganu got a practical demonstration of the lesson of the Upanishad, the lesson of contentment with one's own lot, with the belief that whatever happens is ordained by God and is ultimately good for us. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all. सदानिम्बवृक्षस्य मूलादिवासा सुधास्त्राविणं क्लिप्तमप्यप्रियन्तम् तरुङ्कल्पवृक्षादिकं सादयन्तं नमामीश्वरं सद्गुरुं साईनाथं नमामीश्वरं सद्गुरुं साईनाथं नमामीश्वरं सद्गुरुं साईनाथं